Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and this is a breakdown of the Penguin episode 4 titled Cent'anni. This episode was, in better words, very intense. It was very insane. I was not prepared for it. And I know that you're used to seeing Eric break down the show, but while Voss Man is busy, I've stepped in to help break down this episode. And honestly, what an episode to be brought in on. Are you crazy, Carmine? Yes, he is. In this episode, we learn exactly who Sofia the Hangman Falcone really is, and a flashback to her time before going into Arkham Asylum. This episode is extremely brutal. Alas, we'll be breaking down this episode scene by scene for the Easter eggs and details you might have missed. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you guys that we have some great merch options at nerdriot.shop. You can find the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch there. It's Halloween season, so get your Agatha All Along shirts. But we also have shirts for any occasion. You can get literally anything at nerdriot.shop. It makes great gifts, just makes great clothes that you can just wear on your back because you can't be in the nude all the time. Going to nerdriot.shop is the best way to support the channel and all the work that we do here. All right, as I mentioned, the episode's title is Cent'anni. The phrase Cent'anni is a classic Italian toast that roughly means may you live 100 years. And spoilers, this family may live 100 years in the afterlife because they get murked deliciously and iconically. There's no cold open this week as we jump right into the title screen. We've rewound in time a couple of minutes from where we last left off on the last episode. Oz and Sofia are being held at gunpoint by Nadia Moroni and her henchmen outside the Apex Club in Chinatown. This scene, it was everything. It was so dirty, embarrassing, and stressful. Honestly, all the mortifying adjectives in the dictionary couldn't even describe for me how the scene made me feel. It made me feel like uncut gems. I was like, turn it off. Oz's eyes dart between Nadia and Sofia, carefully thinking about his words here so he can continue to try and play both sides. Though it's finally hitting for Sofia, and boy, those are the eyes of a killer. That's the eyes of someone that's ready to go off. We get the scene start to play out.
I knew you were a swindler and a cheat.
Oz, what the f you talking about?
Shut your goddamn mouth.
He says to Nadia, but really, he's saying it to both Nadia and Sofia. He's trying to be slick, but these are two very smart women. I'd argue smarter than Oz. One intercepted his plan, and the second one he's been distracting and dancing around because she's kind of a lunatic and he's afraid of her. So these two women are well above his pay grade. Nadia reveals that Oz came to Blackgate with the news that he had killed Alberto Falcone, and at this moment, Oz sees that Nadia has all the leverage, so he goes all in, showing loyalty to her and abandoning Sofia entirely. That's when we get a view from Sofia's perspective, where Vic shows up slamming his car between Nadia and her henchmen. Sofia slams to the ground, dodging the impact, messing up her arm, and Oz moves for a gun, blasts his way out, and we learn why Oz told Vic to leave Sofia behind at the end of the third episode. She makes direct eye contact with the man she was beginning to trust, and then she pulls out her phone. In her recent call log, we see that she called Oz. I think this is Todd Oliveri. He works in the electrical department for the production of The Penguin. An unknown number, but we know this is for Gotham. Joe Alfiti, he's the construction coordinator on set, and Dr. Julian Rush, the doctor we see a lot of later. Below them, it's kind of harder to read the additional 3 people. She calls Dr. Rush muttering, "I need help," and it was Oz as she passes out. The stack of newspapers she passes out on are from the Gotham Times, and they read something like, "Gangland rivalry erupts. Violence spills into the streets of Gotham." And yeah, this man just got split in half by a car in the middle of the night. And I'm sure all this violence, all this gangland rivalry is really just surrounding Alberto Falcone's death and the Moronis and just everything else in between. We fade to a flashback to 2012, just before Sofia was sent to Arkham for 10 years. At this point, Sofia would have been also like 27 years old. In the Batman universe, this is also when Bruce left Gotham to study around the world. He returned in 2020 to start his career as the Batman, so there's nothing really stopping all these crazy folks doing the most crimes right now. This is a charity luncheon at the Lucy House, and Sofia is here for the Isabella Falcone Foundation, set up after her mother's death. We saw her memorial plaque in the mausoleum in episode 2. They'll mention this later in the episode that Isabella's mental health issues led her to her death, but as we'll all discover in this episode, it's more likely that, her husband, Carmine Falcone, actually killed her. Without thinking too hard about it, you can see the kind of lifestyle Sofia was led to lead. She was the daughter of elegance and class. Her full red dress cries power and status, a perfect distraction from the family's real dealings. Amongst the simple beige-clad women with all their glasses filled perfectly only a quarter full, we see a weirdly younger Oswald. You can tell this was 10 years ago because his hairline is receding now, and the scars aren't as deep. These are just, effects of aging, but the practical effects are simply stunning. It's so sad to see the relationship now and have this scene where she looks for him for support during her speech. She pokes fun at it now, but their relationship was much more than him being her driver. Given how cold Carmine often is to Sofia, I wonder if Oz was subconsciously like a gentle and supporting father figure for Sofia at some point. That would make Oz's perceived betrayal later even more, brutal. Little important scene to note here, or maybe just that I can flag. We learn in Sofia's speech the reason this charity exists is because she was 9 years old when her mother killed herself due to depression. She says that her father and herself created this charity in her mother's honor, and that's when some folks start talking or making noise in the audience.
I was 9. She took her own life. That's why my father and I started this foundation. We wanted to support charities like this one that provide women and girls with life-saving services.
It's important to note that she doesn't even believe herself when reassuring people that this foundation was founded by both her and her father. Sofia was already more of an assistant to her dad than a daughter. Also, there's probably rumors already circulating of who Falcone really is, why he has so much money, and why he's never at these events, which is probably why during the speech when she mentioned him, it was taken by little murmurs from the peanut gallery. On their way out of the luncheon, this older lady stops and asks Sofia about attending their next charity event, and this woman is actually Ruth Hill. Later in the episode, Falcone confirms it's Congressman Hill's wife. In Batman the Animated Series, there is a Hamilton Hill. He's a lawyer who turned politician, as they always are in Gotham, and he's constantly saved by Batman and always messed with by the criminals. However, in Batman the Telltale series, Hamilton Hill worked with Falcone to do a lot of illegal businesses. He also was the man who hired Joe Chill to kill Thomas and Martha Wayne, you know, in that infamous scene. Leaving the event, she says this cheeky little line here.
Lobotomy couldn't take the edge off.
And ironically, she'll later spend 10 years in Arkham Asylum not getting lobotomies, but doing shock therapy. This game was already written before she even knew it. After sharing a pleasant little exchange about being underdogs with Oz, Sophia is approached by a reporter named Summer Gleeson. Summer Gleeson was a reporter created for Batman the Animated Series as a substitute for the more well-known Gotham City reporter Vicky Vale, who was known to have a relationship with Batman. They eventually later started having Summer appear in the DC comics. Summer asked Sofia about some women who have died recently by hanging. They all worked at the Iceberg Lounge, which will eventually become Oz's, but at this point in the timeline, he is not in control of it. Summer also mentions that Sofia's mother died by hanging, so we see the similarities here. It's Falcone. He killed his wife. We get what she's putting down. Summer tells us these women's deaths span over a decade, so if this is 2012, he's been killing random women since like 2002 at least, when Sofia was 17 years old. 2 years later, he had killed Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman's mom, in 2004, and unfortunately the same way as these other women. I assume because there's a very specific line in the Batman that I think makes it clear.
You made me do this, just like your mother.
And she scratches his face fighting back, just like we see later was done with Isabella Falcone. She scratched his hands when fighting back. Not even a joke, he's basically that guy from Madam Web. 2002 was also the year the Waynes died, but also around the time Thomas Wayne hired Falcone to kill that journalist, who I believe Wayne just wanted help with the journalist, but Falcone killed him. You give him an inch, he's gonna take a mile. You shouldn't have offered him that job in the first place. Upset, Sofia bolts out of the conversation, and as Oz and Sofia drive away, we dive even further back in time to the moment that Sofia found her own mother hanging in her bedroom. And this scene is horrible because this is just a little girl that was playing hide and seek and turned around and found her mom. According to the memorial to Isabella Falcone, this date would be March 20th, 1994, which is 3 months after my birthday. It's a fun fact, but also Jessica, read the room. We're back in our initial flashback time with Alberto and Sofia eating with their father. In the Batman, Carmine Falcone was actually played by John Turturro, but they had to do a recast for the series and brought in Mark Strong, but he's playing a younger version of Falcone. Series creator Lauren LaFranc told IGN they brought in Mark because of a scheduling conflict with John, and honestly, Mark's doing a great job. And also he's playing a younger Falcone, so it really works. There's a painting behind them, and I know I'm probably gonna pronounce this wrong, and I'm so sorry. We even have it spelled out in this script. You can tell by Simone Martini's frescoes Guido Ricci da Fagliano on the back wall that this is the same room in the Falcone house that we've seen in present day used by Johnny Vitti for the meetings. We learn in this flashback that Carmine Falcone once wanted his daughter to take over. He saw that Alberto wasn't serious enough to run the organization. We even get a little foreshadowing in this conversation.
But the rest of the family, they're not.
They know your mind. They'll do as I say.
We learn later that yes, they will do anything that he says, like writing dishonest reports on Sofia's health, which is fully committing perjury. At this moment in dinner, Sofia brings up her mother's death to her father, and he's very elusive about it. Again, we know from the Batman that Carmine is no stranger to killing women. He killed Selena Kyle's mom, Maria Kyle, and strangled his employee to death. He tried to even strangle Selena, so this man is a freaking monster. The following day, Oz is chauffeuring Sofia and Alberto cheekily calls Oz Penguin, and we see Sofia jump to his defense. We know Oz as the Penguin for his stature and classic penguin-like tucks from his many iterations, but I just never realized that maybe, you know, they use that name for ridicule in this universe, and they absolutely do. And the poor face Oz gives after hearing that, if this isn't a perfect example of that scene between the father and the wealthy employer in Parasite. This isn't just a flashback of Sofia Falcone, it is also Oz's flashback. He gave this entire speech to Vic because of these moments. He's tired of being at the bottom while the rich just get richer and treat him like dirt. As Alberto and Sofia talk about their father's nefarious deeds, Oz just keeps track of their conversation conversation. Sofia pulls out Summer Gleeson's business card and learns that she's a reporter for the Gotham Gazette, a newspaper in Gotham in the DC Comics. In some version of Batman, this is also where Vicky Vale works. I also appreciate that the address for Gotham Gazette does not include the state Gotham is in. It's just like Springfield for The Simpsons. Just tell us it's in New Jersey. We already know that Gotham is New Jersey. Sofia meets with Summer and learns that the women from the Iceberg Lounge who supposedly committed suicide were most likely strangled by someone based on the markings and defensive wounds. Summer tells Sofia she needs access to the files of the women who worked at the 44 Below. And you know that's the secret club within the Iceberg Lounge. This is where Anika, Maria, and Selena Kyle all worked. Sofia again flashes back to when she found her mother, realizing she had the same defensive wounds on her hands as the women who were also found dead. And when her dad came rushing into the room, he also had scratches on his hand. This scene is like really fascinating to me, with her pulling down his shades and him pulling them back up. I know it's probably shot for production purposes so you could just see the defensive wounds on his hand, but also the symbolism in shielding his eyes, like he can't look at his daughter or anyone in the face. He's always hiding behind something. I just like how it kind of feels. Sofia doesn't want to believe it and threatens Summer to back off the story, which, girl, come on, you know, we all know your dad did it. Sofia goes back to the car and Oz tries to give her advice, but she's not hearing it. She basically cusses him out. At her father's birthday party, we see Carla again, whom we first met back in episode 2. She is Johnny Vidi's wife, and together Sofia and her joke about Luca's new wife. Oz tells Sofia that her father wants to see her, and she's surprised to see Oz inside the house. Is he a dog? No wonder this man has felt like shit the entire time. From what we know about Oz at this point, it's clear he's been making some moves in the background, and he probably, absolutely, told Carmine about Sofia talking to the reporter. I offer that he probably didn't tell Falcone every little thing about the press and the reporter, but he definitely ratted Sofia out. The question is whether or not he did it intentionally. In episode 3, he mentioned how this got him the Iceberg Lounge, but there's still a chance he didn't think it would go this bad. That's when Carmine tells Sofia this.
I spoke to Kenzie. Summer Gleeson has been working with the police. There's an open investigation. They're looking into me for murder.
Kenzie is Detective William Kenzie, a corrupt GCPD officer who also worked with Falcone in the Batman movie. And I wonder who is leading this investigation into Falcone. Could it be Jim Gordon? Perhaps. Carmine asks his daughter if she thinks he's a murderer, and she starts to break down. It's a mix of wanting to believe he didn't kill her mom and a fear because if he did kill his wife, what's he capable of doing to his daughter in this room? She brings up how she remembers the scratches on his hands from the day her mother died, and she looks up to her dad for an answer, and he dismisses it and says that she's acting different and confused and sends her away. In the car, Oz tries to cover his own ass with Sofia. He's playing both sides like he always does. That's when Oz and Sofia gets pulled over by the GCPD, and Detective Kenzie leads the arrest. We learn that Summer Gleeson has been killed, and they're now charging Sofia with that murder. Sofia asks Oz if this was him, and out of all the bullshit we've seen Oz do so far, he seems genuinely surprised by it all. He even puts up a little slight struggle with the cops, to which Kenzie cusses him out for truly no reason and takes Sofia away. Now, just take all of this in. She had just left her father's birthday party. At that time, he called and had his daughter arrested that quickly. This man truly ran Gotham at the time. Hot off the presses the very next day, we get a gaggle of headlines. The first is from the Gotham Gazette, where Summer Gleeson worked. It reads, "The Hangman arrested." It also has Sofia's mugshot with the arrest date of September 5th, 2012. I love that this show tells you the dates because this universe is so new that they can. Marvel, I know you can't give us dates, but watch how the Penguin's doing it. Next is West Side Talk. The fictional paper was also used in the Batman movie. It reads, "The real story behind the Hangman," and the other stories include council approves funding for public transit, Gotham City Council to address affordable housing crisis, plus firefighters respond to fire at plant, and we got a little bit on this in a minute. Just hold on. Then the Westward News, Sofia, Falcone, the Hangman strings up 7 women. The other stories include a fire at downtown's industrial plant, heat wave to hit Gotham this week. The Gotham Times, this paper has been used in the Batman Gotham TV show and Nolan's Batman trilogy. The Hangman arrested, Falcone exposed as Hangman killer. The other story includes the industrial plant. All this news talks about the industrial plant, so let's talk about it. Could this be the industrial fire that creates this universe's version of the Joker that we saw Barry Keoghan briefly portray in a scene from the Batman? If so, that would mean that the Joker's origin accident that happened in 2012, and by that time the Batman takes place, the Joker has been around in Gotham in some capacity for 10 years. In a deleted scene from the Batman where the Joker and the Batman talk in Arkham, the Joker says it's been 1 year since Batman caught him. So between this moment in 2012 and the Batman movie, Joker has been doing his thing around Gotham for about 8 or 9 years, maybe starting small and then building to a point where Bruce Wayne decided he needed to become the Batman and intervene. This video is sponsored by Helix Sleep. If watching scary movies is keeping you up late at night, you're gonna gonna need the best mattress you can get to fall asleep fast, and I've been using a Helix mattress for years and it's the best. Helix Sleep Quiz makes finding your perfect mattress so easy. I wanted a medium firm mattress with lumbar support that sleeps cool, and I got matched with the Dusk Luxe Helix mattress. I've had it for years now and it's fantastic. I'm mad at my past self who didn't have a Helix mattress before. I should go punch her in the face. Helix offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe and Ultra Premium Elite collections, Helix Plus for big and tall sleepers, and the Helix Kid mattresses. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. The mattress comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set it up yourself. Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you love your mattress, and their mattresses have a 10-year warranty. Pile that on top of Helix's financing options and flexible payment plans, and a great night's sleep is never too far away. It's scary how good Helix mattresses are. Click the link in the description below to find out for yourself and get 20% off. Okay, so Falcone is claiming Sofia is mentally ill, like her mother. He didn't even try to come up with a different story. The ADA, the assistant district attorney, had already met with the judge who ordered a psychological evaluation. All this because her entire family wrote letters agreeing with her father. Also, we all know the most popular DA in Gotham is Harvey Dent, always will be in my heart. Though the most I know from the Batman universe was in 2021, the DA was Gil Colson, who died very tragically. In 2021, we don't know who the assistant district attorney would have been, though in the Gotham series, I know Harvey Dent was the ADA. However, this ain't the Gotham series, baby. There's a world in which the ADA could be Harvey Dent for the next The Batman movie following Gil's death. If he was an ADA around 2012, it still makes sense for him to be working towards being a full-blown DA in the franchise. However, you know, it's all up to Mr. Reeves if he wants to do that. The lawyer then shows Sofia the affidavits, and there's a lot in here, so I'll just skim the important parts. This affidavit from Johnny Vitti, it says, I, Johnny Vitti, declare as follows. He's 43 years old, cousin of Sofia Falcone. He says he's witnessed several incidents indicating Sofia Falcone's violent tendencies in childhood. They even talk about at 16 how she caused considerable property damage to a restaurant, and then they mention between 10 and 14 how she tortures and kills a number of what I think is small animals that she alludes to later. We then see the affidavit for Carla Vitti, cousin of Sofia Falcone. I reside in New York, USA. She doesn't even live in Gotham. She also says she's witnessed to several incidents and indications of Sofia Falcone's violent tendencies since childhood. She even mentions that she tortured a cat outside. This is all bullcrap. So they're now gonna send Sofia straight to Arkham Asylum for 6 months under their care until she's fit for her trial. This is the beginning of the downfall, and this scene is just so sad to watch. We see the intense dehumanizing intake process at Arkham Asylum set to an absolute horror movie-esque score. She's eventually put in the orange and white striped jumpsuit that we've seen before and shackled around her hands, feet, and neck. This is the process every woman goes through when entering Arkham, and how horrible is it? We're introduced to Chief Psychiatrist Dr. Ventress and his associate Dr. Julian Rush. There's a character in the Batman comics named Floyd Ventress, the villain known as Mirror Man, but I don't know if that's what's happening here. I don't think we're getting a Mirror Man story. As Sofia is led to her cell, we see another patient. We'll see her again later in the mess hall, unchained and fully dangerous. There's something about seeing her manicured nails in the jumpsuit that's just, it's not too much for me, but again, it's like a reminder that the rich ain't even safe in Gotham. A bolt falls from the wall and someone starts talking to Sofia from the cell next door through the hole in the wall. She calls herself Magpie, like the bird, and I wonder if she's the sing-song voice that we heard at the very beginning of episode 2 when Sofia was having a flashback. Magpie, aka Margaret Pye, is a Batman villain from the comics. She's a jewel thief who usually doesn't have any metahuman type powers or abilities, but she has been known to use weapons and gadgets, including gloves containing spring-loaded needles that carry a paralysis venom. So we start living in her deterioration and slowly focusing on what makes our girl spiral, right? There's consistent echoes of screams in Arkham Asylum, and Magpie is present every night speaking nonsense. We see them passing out the bliss to the inmates. As we learned in the last episode, they use this drug from the mushrooms to control the inmates, which is working hella on Magpie right now. She is in it. The unchained inmate from earlier enters and attacks Sofia in the mess hall. Maybe it's important to note that this character is credited as Abby. There's an Abigail O'Shea, aka Madam Crow, from the comics who was tested on by Professor Dr. Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow. She spent time in Arkham Asylum after the damages caused by his fear toxin experiments, but still ended up a villain. I don't think this is Abigail O'Shea, but the stories here are kind of similar in the way that Dr. Ventress allows her to attack Sofia later under his watch. It's kind of like his own little experiment, perhaps? Sofia meets with Dr. Julian Rush. She thinks the inmate was purposefully let loose to attack her, and he doesn't really believe her. This kind of makes her look crazy, and this is another addition to that downward spiral. This is mentally a game of chess that she's going to be losing constantly. Sofia is brought back into the mess hall, given a fork and let off the chain. They bring in Abby, her attacker from earlier, this time in shackles and chained to the table. Dr. Ventress is there to watch, but Sofia doesn't want to be goaded into fighting Abby. But Abby wants Sofia to end it. And when she doesn't, Abby begins to stab herself with the fork. Sofia is given electroconvulsive therapy against her will, and you might know this as electroshock therapy, and is often portrayed as a brutal procedure done against the patient's will to combat mental illness or otherwise subdue them, like something out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Today, ECT is actually used to treat conditions like depression, bipolar disorder, and psychosis. The patient is usually under general anesthesia and a medically controlled seizure is induced via electrical current, but here, you know, they're just being cruel doctors. Sofia starts peeling away at the paint on the wall of her cell and notices an ornate wall pattern underneath. It's the same pattern of wallpaper in her mother's room. As the ECT destroys Sofia's mind, her own reality begins to fall apart around her. Dr. Rush starts wondering if Sofia is telling the truth about being innocent, but Dr. Ventress shuts him down, and I hate it, but the display in which they show her spiraling, we recognize on so many levels now, like, yeah, we understand why she is who she is. Dr. Rush can't watch the treatments anymore, so Sofia grabs his hand, begging for compassion, and it just doesn't work. She falls on her bed, exhausted, and has a vision that she's finding her mother hanging in her room again, but this time, it's Sofia hanging there, clawing at the rope around her neck. This must be the nightmare we saw Sofia still having in episode 2, where she's clawing at her throat. Sofia finally has a visitor, and it's Alberto. He's wearing the same outfit we saw in her flashback memory sequence in episode 2. It's been 6 months since Sofia first went into Arkham, but Dr. Ventress told the court she can't go to trial because she's unfit, meaning she's stuck here in Arkham, and it's gonna be 10 years that she's gonna be stuck here. Her demeanor here is already pretty broken down, and the reality of the situation just overwhelms her. Magpie says Sofia can get the drugs now, but this just makes Sofia think that she's working for Dr. Ventress, which, I mean, is she? Maybe my paranoia is hitting with Sofia now. She winds up beating Magpie seemingly to death. I assume to death, which I would assume is also her first actual kill. So now everyone who knows her as the Hangman in Arkham Asylum sees why and how she's killed so many women. She's living up to the rumors now. The orderly's injector was something to knock her out, and maybe this is the bliss drug. The needle was kind of red, but it could be just something to knock her out. When Sofia comes to, we're back in the present day, and Rush is holding her hand like a creep. I don't trust him. Sofia looks around Rush's office and opens the desk drawer to find a couple of prescription pill bottles. It's really hard to identify the bottles' names, though perhaps he's brought them from work. It's hard to make a lot of this situation out, though we learn he's taking them to basically forget what he saw in Arkham Asylum. We learn in the discussion he quit his job before Sofia even got out of there and helped Alberto free her, and he's trying to make up for all the crap that she went through in Arkham Asylum, but you know, Sofia ain't really buying it. In 10 years, she went through doctor after doctor in Arkham. I feel horrible for Sofia, but love this mentality, more so the writing of this scene.
For 10 years, men have lied to me. And then I come home, and it's all the same. They think I'm broken. I'm not the one who's sick, and neither are you. The world is.
I love it, and it's not because of, like, you know, girl power, but because they have. Everyone has been lying to her. The direct outcome of their lying actions left us with Sofia the Hangman Falcone. Y'all can't be mad at what you created. You can't fix what y'all messed up. Also, if this isn't a classic Batman villain speech, I don't know what is. We're back in the Falcone family dining room where Sofia first sealed her fate with her father. Sofia enters the room as the true main character, and this outfit, hot tea. It's hot, smoking hot. Though what I really want to highlight is this eyeliner. It's so iconic and very similar to her comic counterpart. As Sofia sits at the opposite end of the table from Luca, behind her is the framed family portrait of Carmine, Isabella, Alberto, and herself. And now Sofia is the only one left alive from this photo. It's insane that they're even doing this in her house to begin with. I love that Sofia has filled her wine glass so much that it doesn't even ring out when she bangs on it for a toast. My girl is an icon. She's the main character. Sofia then tells a great villain origin speech. She lists off the names of the supposed 7 victims.
Summer Gleeson, Taylor Montgomery, Yolanda Jones, Nancy Hoffman, Susanna Weekly, DeVry Blake, and Trisha Becker.
Because we deserve to hear their names. Sofia ends her grievance rant with a toast to the new beginnings, Chintani, the episode's title. Sofia has a scar also on her shoulder, if you can see it at this part. I'm not trying to be a creep, but in the press photos, I don't really see it on the actress or in the flashback during the luncheon, so this was probably wounds from her time in Arkham Asylum. All to say is, like, it's fully healed, so it's not from the car crash that happened at the beginning when she hit the ground. Sofia enters Alberto's childhood bedroom and leaves his window open, which is vital for later. She takes Giaviti to the greenhouse to eat cake that she wouldn't shut up about earlier at dinner. I'm joking. She's allowed to have cake. Let them eat cake. I guess that she just feels for Gia and wants to protect her from this family that will dispose of her if needed. Sofia wishes someone would have protected her. Plus, this is a good alibi for Sofia being out of the house. Hey, my niece wanted to go camping in the greenhouse. Plus, she wouldn't shut up about the cake. So she already has an alibi. My girl's so smart. After waking up the following morning, it's like Christmas for Sofia. A dark, horrible Christmas. Sofia walks through the Falcone house to the tune of So Long My Love, sung by Sarah Vaughan, stepping over the dead bodies and opening windows. I assume she rigged the house's ventilation system to pump out a bunch of carbon monoxide throughout the entire house. This could also be viewed as an accident, though I would assume a lot of people would be suspicious about, this being a targeted attack, but it could also easily be blamed on the Maronis. Everyone is literally dead. She has now officially killed way more than the alleged hangman had, so she's going beyond her moniker. First, she steps past Milos, who she said had a higher body count than her at dinner. They're also the family advisor. Behind Milos is the old man that was seated near Sofia at dinner. She makes it to this room, and I believe that's her cousin Carla Viti, Gia's mother. It doesn't really look like her, but at the dinner scene, most of the women there have blonde hair other than Sofia, so I think that's Carla Viti, who was in bed with the man who sat next to her at the dinner table. What's also interesting here is I don't think Johnny and Carla weren't together, but even at the dinner, they were separated. In episode 1, Johnny Viti wasn't wearing his wedding ring, so I'm wondering if they broke up sometime during the show, maybe we missed it, and she's now with that new guy, and now they're both dead. Then she steps past who I think is Tina. No matter how unfaithful Tina really was, she still spent the night in the same room with the dead-ass Uncle Luca now. It looks like Sofia purposely left the window in Alberto's old room open, knowing that Johnny Viti was sleeping there. This would have allowed him to survive the night, and she could deal with him in the morning because she is so classic. The episode closes with credits and the song Strange Little Girl by the Stranglers. Ugh. The different, don't connect it to Carmine. The song was released in 1982 and described a seemingly nice country girl who's lost and doesn't understand her new life in this new city. She quickly realizes it isn't for her. She survived this new world and city, but now she's changed and not for the better, just like our Sofia. She started as a bright young girl, then forced into Arkham, coming out the shell of a woman. The episode ended on such a wild roller coaster ride of emotions, from sadness, fear, and somehow ending in vengeance. Sofia's not the hero, not a good guy at all, but she is what her family made her. This pull away from the comics where Sofia is the hangman and Alberto is the villain known as the Holiday Killer is really interesting to divert from. Though bringing more of a backstory for Sofia in this way makes sense, and I know it's heinous, but damn, it was a great episode. Her motives all make sense. She wasn't just some crazed killer or crazy person, she was a regular girl betrayed by the world, betrayed by her family. And I like when comic adaptations make this subversive changes so as the audience can still be surprised even if we're familiar with the characters from the comic book storylines. Another question I'm left with in this episode is who is Sofia working with inside of Arkham to get the bleeding tooth mushrooms to make the bliss? If neither Dr. Rush nor Dr. Ventress works at Arkham anymore, who is her contact on the inside? Maybe Dr. Trey Bloom, the chemist we met last episode, still works at Arkham Asylum? Or could there be yet another person we just haven't met yet? Maybe one of the new doctors who took over for Dr. Ventress is Hugo Strange and will be revealed that he helped Alberto get Sofia out of Arkham to flood Gotham with the drug from the mushrooms. And what does Sofia plan to do with Johnny? He's one of the ones who filed an affidavit against her, so you would think she wants him dead as well, but I would say she has other plans for him in the short term and will get her ultimate revenge before the series is over. She will absolutely kill Johnny. I'm pretty sure by it. The series absolutely took a turn with this flashback episode, and it'll be interesting to see how episode 5 even plays out with Oz being full of crap out in the open now. However, will Sofia really be able to find help after killing her entire family? She now officially lives up to the unstable serial killer perspective everyone already had on her. How will this even play out? Will she just go on a murderous rampage again? It'll be hard for her to trust anyone, and honestly, I think the ball's in Oz's court at this point. Comment down below your thoughts on episode 4 of The Penguin. Follow me at Lulu_Clemons, and I also want to thank Brandon Barrick for helping me write this bad boy, and of course Vossi for letting me break it down. What an episode to come in on. It's truly my favorite episode, even though it's so sad and so dark and so heinous. It just brings another layer to the Batman that I really, really love, and I love this new change for the Hangman. It's no longer like, I'm just a crazy person. It's like, she was built to be crazy. You guys did this to her. Regardless, subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.